What it do, everybody? It's Josh, aka the Moslem Muscle, and it has been a long time since we've done a Next Up podcast. So I figured it's time to run one back a little bit. So I've been getting questions over the weeks. Obviously, we just moved the gym. Shout out Pivot Gym. Show up. Tim Mineola, 465 Jericho Turnpike. We are open. We are vibing. Let's get it. It's a sick place to train. But I've been getting questions kind of in my DMs and stuff like that. So I just saved them expecting to do this at some point. So I am just going to pull these up and we are going to get active and get these going. So, first question. Excuse me. How much does meal timing really matter if my total macros are hit by the end of the day? I'm going to say that meal timing doesn't really matter, except for the fact that you are going to want to make sure that you are putting the bulk of your carbs in that peri workout window. So pre, intra, and post training. I would say anywhere from 55 to 65% of your carbs in the day. So if you're going to have 500 grams of carbs, 55% would be right around 275. 65% would be somewhere right around 325 to 350. In your pre, intra, post, you could do that through 100 grams or 150 grams pre, 150 grams post, 25 grams intra or 50 grams intra, whatever that number comes out to. But I would say that that is your biggest thing. That is your best bet when it comes to your meal timing and your peri-workout nutrition, making sure that you're putting your carbs there. Other than that, realistically, I don't think it matters. Having a protein feeding every 3 to 4 hours is always a good standpoint to make sure that you're hitting all of your macros, that you're just getting consistent protein feedings throughout the day, or in an influx of amino acids. But it's not as important as people try to make it seem, especially if you're not competing. If you are someone who's just a lifestyle person, then I would definitely suggest saying, like, make the diet fit for you. Make sure that you are putting your carbs in that peri-workout window, because you want to make sure that you are actually getting the performance benefits of the carbs. So put a nice bow on that one. That one's pretty easy. All right. Next one. I feel like I get a lot of food questions all the time. So is there actually a difference between a refeed day and a cheat day, or is that just verbiage? So pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. A refeed day is going to be very similar to your normal diet. So let's say you are in a deficit and you're eating about 200 grams of carbs. You're probably going to be eating anywhere from 400 to 500 grams of carbs on a refeed day. Normally, it's going to be 1 to 2 days, but realistically, it's going to be all the same food. So you might get the addition of something like an English muffin or some honey or something like that, something that's going to be easy on the digestive system. But the goal here is to turn around and eat more of the food that you were already eating. A cheat meal or a cheat day is just go ham. Like there's no rules, just go for it. Not in the terms of bodybuilding, it's not a great idea. I have had cheat meals, I've had cheat days. Just it is the quickest way to knock yourself off plan and keep yourself off plan. And if you even keep yourself on plan, you're just going to be in a way worse position at the end of the day to realistically transform your physique. Like you are putting in a ton of calories just for one day, for one meal, as opposed to having a strategic plan to actually bring your body back to life. So cheat meals overrated, refeed days, they make sense. All right. How low can we push calories on a mini cut without risking muscle loss if my training and protein are on point? All right, we are back. So how low can I push my calories on a mini cut without risking muscle loss if my training and protein are on point? I used to be under the philosophy that, like, you want to diet on as many calories as possible. I think a mini cut is now, it doesn't need to have a timeline and there doesn't need to be a endpoint to it, but realistically, like, you want to get in and out as fast as possible. So I personally think and use with my clients, I push calories pretty low. I'll push output pretty high. The goal is to get out of that phase as quickly as possible. I'm not trying to get somebody absolutely gutted, peeled, and keep performance high. I'm trying to get a good chunk of body fat off, get you to reset your appetite, and then go from there. So you can push those calories pretty damn low, making sure that the training is still good. It might go down a little bit. You might lose some fullness. You might not look the same. You might not have the same pump in the gym. But as long as the training isn't, just nosediving and your protein is on point so that you are keeping tissue, especially if you're enhanced, 100% push those calories pretty damn low. All right. I got to look for something else because I'm tired of these nutrition questions already. All right. How much cardio is too much if I'm trying to grow? Is there a weekly minute amount where you would start seeing real trade-offs? No, I think the weekly minute threshold, like where you would start seeing real trade-offs, it's when you can no longer recover from everything else that's going on. As you get heavier and you get bigger, your ability to recover is going to be less. You are a bigger body, you're going to need more. So you're going to need more food, you're going to need more recovery, you're going to need more sleep realistically. So if you're sitting there and you're trying to see how much cardio you could do so you could eat more, that's sooner or later you're going to just dig yourself into a fatigue debt. So I do believe that cardio shouldn't be super high in the off season, but it needs to be there for heart health. So things like hit cardio, making short intervals, something anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes of intervals on cardio 3 to 4 times a week is going to be absolutely plenty for you to grow and still relatively maintain good body composition. You should even be able to see that your insulin sensitivity gets better if you're using HIIT cardio. You're just going to be able to burn carbs better. So I would suggest to most people to do some version of HIIT cardio in the off season. If you are trying to, go into a prep, a little bit longer duration of cardio is definitely going to be a better option. If my goal is hypertrophy, how much strength work, low rep, heavy sets do I actually need to keep in the program? Don't. Straight up, don't. There is no point in going for a 1 to 4 rep fucking PR. Like realistically, you're getting absolutely nothing out of that. You're wasting your time. You can turn around and get so much more out of trying to build a logbook through longer sets. Anywhere from like an 8 to 20 is going to do so much more for you in terms of hypertrophy. One of the things that we talk about with hypertrophy is the time under tension and how around 40 seconds is that like golden time period to be in a set. If you are doing 4 reps in 40 seconds, that's a fucking 8 second negative. That is forever. So getting those rep ranges up a little bit is definitely going to be something that's going to ensure that that time under tension is there. And as long as you're utilizing the muscle correctly, you'll get that mechanical tension you're looking for. Is training every muscle once every 4 to 5 days actually better than strict twice a week frequency? Or is it not just splitting hairs? Really, it depends on the need. Um, I don't really love the bro split. I know that when we're on the podcast with Joe and Austin, like Joe's definitely a little bit more like loving of the bro split. I don't think the bro split's necessary for most people. Do I think an arm day is definitely necessary for some people? Yes, but you have to have a certain amount of tissue for that to really matter. They need to be a glaring weak point, realistically, for me to think that you need an arm day. But training every muscle 4 to 5 times or 4 to 5 days, once every 4 to 5 days, I think that's a little too low of a frequency. I don't think you need to train everything twice a week. Take your best body part and make that once a week. Take your best training group. So something like if you're training push, it's going to be chest, shoulders, arm, or chest, shoulders, triceps. Make that once a week. Whereas legs and back might be twice a week for you. If your triceps suck, then maybe you do push once a week, you do pull and triceps, and then you do legs, and then you take a rest day, and then you do pull again, and on legs you throw in triceps as well. Like you could do it that way too. You don't need to absolutely hit everything twice a week. You have to do it based on the needs and also based on how the speed of which something grows. For me personally, my back grows very quickly. I don't need to, and nor will I turn around and say that it's a good idea for me to be training back twice a week. There's absolutely no point. But I can train back really hard once a week and make sure that I put biceps on the first push day so it doesn't affect the pull day at the end of the week. And now I'm still going to get twice the frequency on my biceps. So it's the little things like that that do make a big difference. And if you're trying to just get your frequency up through means of junk volume, I think that's a very bad idea. Make sure the volume is concentrated. Make sure that you're doing the stuff that you need to actually grow the tissue. Do I need exercise variation per hypertrophy, or can I just get stupid strong and efficient on 1 to 2 movements per muscle and be fine? You can get stupid strong and efficient on 1 to 2 movements per muscle and be fine. Um, let's be real. If you get really, really good at a leg press to where your quads are full blown on the first rep, and your second exercise is a leg extension to make sure that you're really flexing that rec fem, you can grow quads from that. You just need to make sure that you have effort. Same thing with chest. You have a chest fly, you have a flat press, but you have to make sure that you're absolutely nailing that muscle every single time. The reason that we use more variation or more exercises is to hit from different angles and try to fatigue the overall muscle more so. But realistically, if you can do that in one exercise and 1 to 2 sets, do it. You're in a special place. That's how you should do it. So make sure that you are in that process. All right. Next. All right. How much should I worry about junk volume? At what point do extra sets just stop doing anything or start hurting recovery? So junk volume is just a waste of time. If you're sitting there and you are doing junk volume, you are absolutely wasting your time fully from a time in the gym perspective, from a recovery capacity. There is no point going into the gym, going into a set, and just doing something just to waste time. Junk volume should not exist. So, really simple, really easy. If you're doing a set and it's not going to get anything out of it, you're wasting your time. Question I always like to ask myself whenever it comes to doing an exercise or doing a workout is going to 100% be, did that set build muscle? Did I do enough in that set that if the gym had to close right now, I would still be in a good position? It's that simple at the end of the day. All right. Let's get into some fun ones. We got PEDs. SARMs versus low dose steroids versus TRT. What are the real trade-offs in terms of risk, side effects, and results? SARMs are a waste of your time. There are specific quote unquote SARMs, something like a Cardarine or GW 510, 516, that definitely has its place. Low dose steroids or TRT, because of how TRT plus is and things like that, low dose steroids and TRT are very similar to a lot of people. Unless you're saying something like, a low dose steroid is test and trend, because trend's not going to be prescribed as TRT. There's going to be the trade-offs in terms of risk. Like, most people on TRT aren't going to have problems. Also, true TRT is monitored by a doctor, whereas low dose steroids is not going to be monitored by a doctor. You're probably buying that from some guy making it in his bathtub. Let's be real. So the real trade-offs in terms of risk, side effects, and results is like, you could have a problem with low dose steroids. SARMs, unregulated industry, over the counter to a degree, just stay away. TRT, real true TRT, going to a doctor, that's probably the preferred route for most people, especially if you're just dipping your toe in. But like, the side effects, the risk, the results, you're going to get more results from low dose steroids. You're going to get less results from TRT. You might go blind from certain SARMs. So that's all of it kind of summed up in a in a synopsis, I guess. How much do genetics really matter for PED response? Are there people who will barely grow even on aggressive cycles? Yes, Kevin Levrone, bro. So think about it like this, right? We witnessed Kevin Levrone not train for half a year, hop on the sauce, and be, top five in Mr. Olympia. I think he was top two of the year of that like crazy transformation. Um, Super responder. So yeah, his genetics are better than all of ours when it comes to this. You're not watching this if your genetics are that good. Um, then like, are there people who barely grow on even aggressive cycles? I hate to say it, but like Chase Irons does pretty aggressive cycles in terms of total milligrams, and like he's a big dude, but he's not Ronnie Coleman. He's not, Big Ramy. So yeah, genetics are a huge response for PEDs. Like they matter an absolute fuck ton. And some people will barely grow. It's literally how the cookie crumbles. Did you pick the right parents or no? Um, Here's one that I know I might get some hate on. Is it realistic to come off a moderate cycle and keep most of the muscle? Or will I inevitably lose everything that made me look enhanced? You will lose fullness. Yes. But if you lose your muscle because you came off cycle or because you went into a cruise, you're a pussy. That means you didn't train hard enough. That means your recovery just went to shit. That means you pretty much stopped doing all the things that were growing the muscle in the first place. If you truly rely on steroids to that degree or PEDs to that degree, you got way bigger problems than this. So make sure, absolutely make sure that you are training the way you should, eating the way you should, and doing everything that you need to make sure that that's not a problem for you. All right. If I only have 4 days a week to train, what's the highest ROI split for muscle gain that still lets me have a life? Um, I have the joke answer of like, what's a life, right? Like, if your life is going out hiking and shit, you're not gonna want to train legs twice in a week. But if you're just sitting at home and like maybe you go out to the bars or whatever, then like why couldn't you train legs twice in a week? Depends on how much you cut in a rug, baby. But like genuinely, depending on the person, depending on their goals, I'm going to say most people's goals are not to be bodybuilder proportions. So train, push, pull, rest, legs, upper, rest. That way you could turn around and you or rest twice because that way you could turn around. It would be like Monday you have push, international chest day. Tuesday you got back. Wednesday you take a day off. Thursday you got lower, so that way you're recovered for the weekend when you go out stepping. And then Friday, you have upper, you go out to the bar, you got a nice pump, you look pretty solid. So that would be my opinion. That would be my best split for someone like that. Now, if your goal is to have more bodybuilder type proportions, I'm going to say push, pull, legs, arms. If you are someone who needs arms, or if you can only do 4 times a week, you could do a push, pull, legs, and arms session, and then go straight back to push and rotate through the week like that. I'm not qualified to answer the next question, but how do I balance wanting to be jacked with having a demanding job, kids, night shifts without burning out? Pretty much how do I balance having just a real true, responsibilities in a life without burning out? Personally, I just burnt out. So I can't really give a great answer. But I realistically think that it's going to be splitting your day into compartments. So having time for your kids, making sure that you're doing what you need to do at your job, making sure that you have time for your meals, being proactive, meal prepping, making sure that you have the little things in place to make you an effective bodybuilder. Those are going to be huge. But realistically, like you need to compartmentalize your day. If you have time to do cardio at this time and that's the only time you have, you got to get it done. If you have, an hour to train on the days that you are going to train, you have to go in there. You can't fuck around. You can't be on your phone. You can't be texting your girl. You can't be doing any of that. You have to get in and get out. So It's just making sure that you are compartmentalizing your day correctly. What are the minimum non-negotiables for health, steps, sleep, blood work, cardio if I'm trying to push body fat lower than what's comfortable? It's a hard. I would say your minimum per steps is going to be 8,000. According to the American Heart Association, something like 70% of mortality goes down as long as you're getting 8,000 steps a day. So 8,000 is your minimum there. Sleep 7 hours is the minimum I normally look at when looking at clients, just to make sure they're recovering. I can't say that I always get that personally, but 7 hours is like my bottom of my gold standard. Eight obviously is best. Blood work, we want to make sure things are in range. If you're an enhanced bodybuilder, there's certain things that you're going to kind of upset or accept that aren't in range. Something like an HDL, something like your ALT and AST, if you just trained, are going to be skewed a little bit. But realistically, like making sure that things are in range or close to range, making sure nothing's crazy out of whack, making sure your blood pressure is in a good place, making sure your HbA1c is in a good place. Those are all mandatory. And we kind of went into cardio earlier. I think the cardio should be done 3 to 4 times a week, no matter the phase that you're in. But again, you're trying to push body fat lower than what's comfortable. That cardio is going to be pretty high. Those steps are going to be pretty high. What's comfortable is now your sleep is going to be deteriorating. So you have to understand that, like with this, you do have some detriments to getting to a new body fat set point that are going to happen, and you will get out of that point. But like you do need to, unfortunately, suffer a little bit. So that is uh that is your answer there. And let's go back. Let's do one more PED question, and we will call it after that. Is blasting and cruising ever a good idea if I'm not a competitive bodybuilder, or is it just long-term TRT with extra steps? All right, so it depends on, even though you're saying you're not a competitive bodybuilder, what is your goal? Is your goal to look like a competitive bodybuilder? Because if that's the case, then yes, blasting and cruising is going to be a good idea. There's going to be times where you could push it a little bit while health is in good place, your life's in a good place, stress isn't out of whack. Where you can push the food, you can push the drugs, and you can still be in a good spot. And then you can pull back with the cruising, maybe go into a mini cut during those times. I really like that approach. Joe did that with me. So you cruise while the androgens are lower, you're able to burn some fat, you're able to clean up a little bit, and that way when you get back into a good phase, a time to grow again, you're more sensitive to the food, you're in a little bit better shape, you almost reset a runway for yourself. So I think that's a great idea. um I think TRT realistically is for the general person who maybe they don't want to look like a bodybuilder. They want to have some muscle, maybe they want to have some visible abs, but they are not trying to look like the top 1% of people on the planet. So that is where TRT definitely comes in. You can look really, really good on TRT, but most won't. And that's just what it is. So with that said, I'm signing out. I'm calling this. Thank you guys for your questions. If you haven't yet, check out Pivot Gym. If you got any other questions, comment them down below. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Next up, podcast. I'm the only one who's next up. You feel me? So let's get it.